Good evening and welcome to In Demand. I'm Jane Dennis.
And I'm Trudy Kerr, and tonight we are talking to women on stage. Throughout history, men have always taken lead roles in theatrical scene, but this evening we're going to talk to two of Malta's leading and predominant female actresses.
That's right, tonight's guests are Isabel Warrington, known for her comedy and serious performances on stage, and also singer-actress Rachel Fabry, who's famous for her work both here in Malta and overseas.
Absolutely. First up, we're talking to Isabel. Welcome to In Demand, where we are joined here on the couch by the most beautiful and gorgeous Isabel Warrington.
I'm loving your theatrical movements. Is it all about theatre today?
Theatre, darling, when I get a
darling.
job. Welcome. How lovely to have you on the show, Isabel.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you are very welcome. First question, Isabel, just sort this out for me. You are Maltese, aren't you?
Yes, I am. 100% Maltese.
Okay, so where does Warrington come into it?
Well, my ancestors were British about 5 generations ago.
Okay.
So that's
So
where
the
Warrington
Warringtons
came from.
staying
Yes.
stayed all the way through. That's interesting.
Yes.
Because you know Warrington.
I know,
don't
well,
you?
I used to go
Where
to
is
the
it?
snooker in Warrington, North England.
Oh,
Yes.
is it?
It is, yes.
Right, there you go.
In fact, I was mentioning that I gave Tony Drago, the Maltese...
Drago.
The Drago.
Oh.
But that's, how interesting that's because in snooker fraternity, he's always been Tony Drago. I can't remember that
Okay.
he's ever put that right. I gave him a driving lesson in a car park in Warrington.
I'm so glad.
Tenuous Warrington Maltese link there.
I'm so glad we sorted that out. Hooray!
Anyway.
Listen, back to the show. Isabel, question. You are an actress. You are a
Yes.
comedian actress as well. First question I've got for you, we're going to jump straight in there. Any disadvantages to being a woman on stage?
Not that I can think of,
Any
no.
advantages to being a woman on stage? She's thinking.
She's thinking, I like that.
She's thinking. We should
Normally
have
have
asked
to
this
speak
Any
with
advantage?
chat.
I never really thought about advantages or disadvantages. I just, you know, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages, but I never really think like that.
No.
So I don't know how to answer
Many
this
of our
question.
guests don't think like that, and this is kind of where we probe in to say, you know, has there been, because your career is your career and you only know life as a woman, but a career on stage, has there been something that's influenced you or been an inhibitor because you've been a woman?
Because I was a woman. Well, they say that most roles, most of the leading roles tend to be male roles.
Right.
I think probably I've been very lucky, and that's probably partly because we are in Malta. I've done a lot of leading female roles, and I think it's because here in Malta, number one, the pool of English-speaking actors is not very big.
Is that right?
It's
I
not
didn't
very
know
big.
Because are you
no.
saying that your theatrical performances are mostly in English?
Yes.
Right. And
I
why
have
is
never
why is,
performed
okay.
in Maltese,
Okay.
unfortunately. I would love to,
Wow.
but I'm not normally cast in Maltese productions because people know me as an English-speaking actor, and a lot of people, I think I can't speak Maltese, so they don't attempt.
So if anybody's listening and they're doing a Maltese
Available.
production,
Yes.
Isabel would like to be in your production. There you go. So but because you're saying that the pool of English-speaking actresses is
quite small.
Is quite small.
Yes.
And that's really interesting, because another question we were going to tap into was, you know, are you restricted in Malta by the number of roles that you can get? And you're saying actually quite the opposite.
I would say so, yes, because I think it's partly as well because it is on a semi-professional level that we do theatre over here.
Okay.
So what happens is, because Malta is a small island, we don't have long runs. So, you know,
there's no Drury Lane
that a show will run usually is, the maximum is 3 weeks, and that's a long run for us, you know. The longest running English speaking production is usually the pantomime.
Right.
So what happens is you get the opportunity to do a lot more, to do a lot more roles. You're not restricted. You don't have a run that lasts 6 months, let's say. So you're always doing, it's like, you know, going into the office in the morning and you're doing the same role every single day. So we're lucky that the runs are short, because we rehearse for them, and then the performance is short, and then you've got the opportunity to be cast in another production.
Now, you're identifying that as an advantage.
Yes.
But that must also be more taxing and tiring, to be learning different productions quite on a regular basis.
Yes, I suppose.
Yeah, look at that, good question.
I like that one.
Thank you very much.
Done.
Yes. Yes, it is. I mean, I don't really think of it that way, because it's something that I really enjoy doing. So I don't think, oh my God, how tiring this is. I just think, yes, this is a new challenge, you know, and it's a new opportunity.
Way too much energy over there. Whoa.
When you were talking about, though, the size of the actors and actresses available for parts, and that it's actually smaller. There's a community of Maltese-speaking actors and a group of English-speaking actors. Does that then mean that you're typecast a little bit in the kind of the things that you do?
I think at the beginning of my acting career that happened. I used to be typecast in certain roles, and then I was lucky enough to be cast in other roles. So then it became broader, you know, the genre of acting that I was doing. Yes, because people think, oh, okay, yes, Isabel Warrington is good at, you know, playing the sexy vamp or the, you know, the mean.
Is that what
I
they think?
would quite like someone
you
to
know?
say that about me. Thank you very much. Trudy Kerr, she can play a sexy vamp really well.
Well, I don't know about now, but
But hold on a minute, that's very interesting. That's very interesting, because if you are a similar community and you're growing older, now we've talked about this when we talked about women in cinema and in television, that it's almost as though with women you've got a sell-by date. You get to a certain stage and you're no longer you're playing grannies way before men are playing grandfathers. That you move into the next level up, and that the beautiful parts, it's still important to be seen to be very beautiful in television and in cinema. Is that the case? Is there still that pressure to be beautiful on stage?
I think it depends a lot on the individual, on the actor. I think if you are versatile, number one, you have more fun because you can do more roles. And secondly, I think you have less chance of being past your sell-by date. Maybe for certain roles you are past your sell-by date. I'm not going to play the role of a 20-year-old bimbo now, you know.
Was there a time where you wanted to play a 20-year-old bimbo?
Oh, I have played it.
Oh,
It was so
excellent.
much fun.
But aren't the roles restricted then? Because this is what we were saying, that with women in cinema and TV, that there are less and less roles for older women, and that there are plenty of interesting roles for older men, but less and less for older women.
Well, it could be the case, but I haven't felt it yet. I mean, for example, now I feel that as I grew older, the roles that I was cast in were much more interesting.
Right.
Wow.
Like,
As you get
That's
older.
nice.
yes.
Yeah.
Like last year, I did Shirley Valentine, which is
That's right.
wonderful. It's a
Yes.
dream role
But they're
for
very
an
rare.
actor.
I mean, when Shirley Valentine came out in the cinema, it was a play first. Am
Yeah,
I right?
I think, yes,
So
I
when
think
that came out and to huge acclaim, what was great about it was so unusual. No one was telling that
Yes.
tale before, and it was because of the fact that it was unusual that it was applauded. But I think those kind of things are 10 a penny with men. The story of a man having a midlife crisis, isn't, you know?
Well,
No?
I think so.
More so, I think.
But then you say that, we know
Maybe
if
for
you
mainstream theatre,
Possibly.
it is the case. But I mean, I'm sure there are. I can't think of any at the moment, but I'm sure there have been you know, plays about men going through a midlife crisis.
No, that's what I mean. I think there's more of
There is
them
more of that
than there are of women.
Possibly.
But if I think, I mean, I don't know about you, and we've just gone straight onto the age issue. If I think of actresses who I most respect and admire, they would be Dame Judi Dench, Helen Mirren, and those sorts of women who are very accomplished, very beautiful older generation, and that kind of gives an idea that there is still, you know, room to grow.
For them.
We're not putting you in the
yes.
same bracket and saying that you're the same age as Dame Judi Dench. All right, just so as you know that. But have you seen in your career, and I think this is kind of reflecting what you were saying, have you seen a migration, you said yourself, to that the roles are now more interesting. Is there more, would you say that you've gained more respect as well, and more interest across the board?
Yes, I think so. I would think so, yes, it is the case.
When did you realise that being an actor was something that you could do for a living and not just a hobby?
I started acting when I was 26, so it was relatively late.
Relatively late,
yes,
yes.
I always loved the stage. I never did it intentionally. I never thought, you know, one fine day, let me start acting. You know, it sort of happened by chance, and you know, and I realised, oh,
hang on,
back up.
How do you...
By chance.
Yes. How do you do
Are you
this by
thinking the
chance?
same
Yes,
as me?
yes.
How do you end up
I'm
being
on stage.
Like you just wake up one day, walk into the theatre and go, oh, good Lord, I'm here. How did that happen? No, there has to be a story behind that.
It started off. I used to dance from the age of 18. Right? And so I loved the stage. I loved performing. And then one fine day, a friend of mine who was, there is every year the MADC, which is the Malta Amateur Dramatics Company, club rather, they hold one act play festival. And the idea is that they promote new and aspiring actors and directors and scriptwriters as well. And this friend of mine thought, okay, let me direct a play and I need new people on the stage. And he said, would you like to do it? And I thought, yeah, why not, you know.
Give it a go.
And I did it, and I loved it, you know. I thought,
see, but you
this
had
is
no
really
training.
easy.
You just went onto the stage and went, I love that. Isabel Warrington, no training at all. And just walked straight onto the stage and loved it.
And then I trained later on.
Of course.
So then I was cast in other productions after that, you know, and then I thought, oh, okay, maybe I am a bit good at this, you know, let me train, and you know, I've worked with different directors, and I learnt a lot as you know, on the job, so to speak.
Yeah.
Listen, Isabel, so many questions.
No.
Yes, we are. We're going to a break.
Goodness.
So many questions, and absolutely wonderful having you here. I also like the way that you're so well coordinated with the sofa.
Oh, thank you.
Frightfully lovely. Very considerate of you. We're going to go for a quick break. Whatever you do, don't go anywhere. Well, you can go get yourself a cup of tea or coffee or glass of wine. Come back and join us in just a minute. Ciao.
Welcome back to InDemand, where we've been joined by the lovely Rachel Fabry, singer and actress. Welcome, lovely to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely
Hi.
orange with the orange cushion.
It's almost as if the ladies saw the set before they came today. They look amazingly coordinated.
We thought we'd coordinate.
It's beautiful. Rachel, it's lovely to see you again.
You too.
And as Jane just mentioned and introduced you, when I've interviewed you before, I've interviewed you as a singer.
Yes.
But you are a singer and a very successful actress. Tell me, which comes first? Which is your first love?
I have to admit, my first love is singing, but when I'm singing, I'm acting at the same time. So I guess I can't really distinguish the two, because there's, you know, acting through song. Because I love musical theatre, and musical theatre is all about acting through song. So, you know.
So you're playing a role just through song. So you're just going that direction.
So that seems quite niche, if you don't mind me saying. I think it's not in wider theatrical circles. In Malta, if that's something that you like to do, does it restrict you in the kind of work that you can do?
I mean, obviously, there's the musicals that I get to do every so often when they do come along.
Yes.
But then again, I would act in a movie where I wouldn't have to sing as well, you know, which I'd love just as
Yes.
much, really. But not just as much, I guess. The musicals will always have a little bit more of a, you know, that deeper meaning for me.
Favourite musical?
Phantom of the Opera, I guess. I
Have
know
you-
it's
have you done
cliche,
it?
but I love it.
Have you done it? Have you played it?
I've never played it, no. Watched it a million times, but never played
yeah,
it.
so there's a lot, because that's what I think about. I think with somebody in your field doing that and being in Malta, and we say that you work overseas as well, can you be afford to be picky in terms of roles when they come up in Malta, or do you have to take what's available?
I mean, it depends. I mean, there are lots of things happening in Malta, especially in the past few years since I've been back from England. I feel that before I went up, there were already quite a few things happening. But as I've come back, I've already been back for around 4 years, that there's so many shows going on, concerts where you have to sing classical concerts, where you have to sing classical crossover, musical theatre, acting jobs, whatever. So, I mean, yes, I am picky, but at the same time, you know, the work is still coming in
And there's
as well.
things
and
that
there are lots of-
they're things that you're interested in
Yes,
doing.
yes, definitely.
There's not just because I
Definitely.
wonder that whether there's a type of theatre or that tends to happen in Malta, but you're saying that's evolved.
Yes, I do think so. However, at the same time, I don't just restrict myself to musical theatre
Yes,
singing
no,
as well. You know,
sure.
I form part of a gospel choir as well, which I
Wow.
absolutely adore. So,
Fantastic. Just a thought came in just then, just off the question you just said. Do you ever get asked to play a role or a part that just doesn't float your boat? That you think to yourself, I've got to do it because I've got nothing on at the moment and I ought to do it and it would be good for my career, but actually it's a bit dull.
I'll be honest, if
Don't
I
tell us which
don't,
one it was.
if I don't have a strong affinity towards the role, I'm more likely not to do it. I'll be
Really?
honest with you, because I'm a person that really follows my gut feeling. And if I know that I'm going to spend, I don't know, 2 months rehearsing for this every day and I'm just going to have 2 months of feeling rotten, then I'll probably not do it. Because I'm a very emotional person. So for me, if it's something I know I'm really going to have a great time playing, you know, then
Then you're going to put your heart
Then
and
I'm
soul
gonna put
into
my
it.
heart and
But
soul
are you in a
into it.
position, I don't mean just you, I mean anybody who's working in this field, are you in a position, whether it be here in Malta or abroad, because I know that you've worked abroad as well, where you would be able to turn down a role or a part because you have something else which is going to fill the gap or another?
I teach as well, and I do a lot of music-related jobs here and there as well. So at least there's always that little bit of income coming
Yes.
in.
So coming right back to your question, you are able to be a bit picky if you wanted to be.
Yes, yes, yes. I guess so.
I'm thinking a little bit about the similar conversation that we had with Isabel earlier. You know, you're young and beautiful now. I mean, I think about musicals. I think about musical theatre, and I feel like there is a balance of parts in musical theatre, and I know you don't work exclusively in that area. Because I think if I think about the West End shows, there seems to be a good balance between male and female roles, but it doesn't seem to be the case. That's not no statistics that it's the case in theatrical roles. But I don't know that there's the parts as women get older. Do you feel that might be something, or that's a valid
It depends,
observation?
obviously. We can't restrict, obviously, as well to West End and stuff like
Yes.
that. But there are so many touring companies and one-off shows here and there where you get, you know, those older roles, like Patti LuPone kind of roles, you know, or the Baker's Wife is coming to mind. You'd get those older female roles as well. So there are a few are coming to mind, but there are a lot of those older male roles, yes, as well, you know. At the same time, like when I am older, I doubt I'd really get cast in the granny roles until I'm really old, because I'm one of those people that looks much younger than my age, which has its advantages and disadvantages as well, you know. So, having said that, sorry, I'm having a very funny memory. One of the first roles I ever played as a child was an old lady, so that's quite ironic.
So you've already done it.
So I've done it.
Don't need to worry. I'm going to come and ask you a gender question. Now, you've lived abroad and worked abroad and here in Malta as well. I've already asked Isabel about being a woman in theatre. Have you experienced any kind of reference to you being a woman in theatre, either here or in Malta? Have you found any advantages or disadvantages? We talked about advantages of being a woman, and Isabel was saying because there's a limited number of English-speaking actresses. For you, either here in Malta or abroad, has that ever come into play?
I guess there are quite a few advantages along the way, both here and in Malta. Like how Isabel mentioned, I would normally be cast in English-speaking roles as well, but there is a lot of English-speaking theatre here, so that's a bonus for me. There are lots of singing roles as well, acting-wise, so that's another bonus. And disadvantage, probably one of the only things I've ever heard that was in reference to me was, I don't know if I'm meant to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Menstrual cramps.
It's the place to say.
Menstrual cramps.
Really?
I don't, because I just remember when I first, had gone through that horrible experience of finding out that I had it. I had to be pushed on stage, and I was still quite young, and they were like, "Oh, she has to do it anyway. She's grumpy, but she's got to go ahead with it."
Anyway.
So it's quite a gender,
that is very
related.
gender specific. That's very.
And I just said that on TV.
Yes, good for you.
But that then
for you.
stretches
We all have them, so
way beyond just the stage. I can tell you, way beyond just the stage. Oh, don't. Do you have a preference to, and this is a personal preference, it's not any casting any aspersions at all, but with your experience on stage and singing and parts, do you have a preference between being here at home in Malta or being abroad?
What a good question that is.
Thank you very much. I do try.
I've had some amazing experiences overseas, I won't lie. However, I do feel more comfortable over here. I'm much happier here, I'm settled here, I'm married here. So for me, I get to accept and work in this field comfortably over here. And there are some amazing roles, and one of the upcoming roles that I have is amazing, and I always wanted to play it. I never actually thought I'd get to play it in Malta. I thought it would have to be something, the last 5 years, the musical by Jason Robert Brown, which is a 2-person musical, so that's something really exciting for me.
It's a 2-person musical. No pressure then?
No pressure at all.
Is it?
But,
I mean,
yeah.
I think of being on stage, it's a calling, that it's more than just a job that you've always wanted to do, and in a world of accountants and lawyers who probably feel that when they've graduated and become lawyers and accountants, that's something they're going to do for the rest of their lives, and probably as a result of that can rely on a steady income. It's something you want to do, but is it something that feels it's got the same level of permanence attached to it as a career?
This is a question that gets asked to me quite often.
You ask a good question, I ask
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Just point that out.
But I think it's because it's a good question, to be honest. My family ask it to me all the time as well, because they want me to be
That's a kind of mum question.
secure.
That's probably what I ask my kids, to be honest, Is this a proper job? I think that's what it is. Is that what I'm asking? Is this a
I'll be
proper
honest,
job?
I do teach as well. So for me, that is like the safety net, where I know that I'm going to be teaching definitely for the rest of my life. But having said that, I feel that I can also keep acting and singing for the rest of my life as well. Why not? So.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's, I think of actresses, whether they be... And actually, I'm just going to raise this point, because we've been talking about actors, and I've written in all the questions, actresses. And actresses not referred to as actresses anymore, they're called actors.
Actors,
yes.
Why is that? When did that change?
I think you'll find that I wrote actors.
But when did that
changed it
change?
all to actress.
I don't know. I remember
I don't
hearing
know if
about
it's
it.
an American thing.
It could be.
I'm
It
not
could be.
They
sure.
brought in this sort of
Why?
political correctness. I might just keep referring
In
to you
fact,
actresses.
actually, I went to see...
Prefer the word actress.
I would do you, because I went to
nicer,
see
it's
the
true,
importance
actors.
of it being earnest the other night, beamed into St James Cavalier, and they were interviewing David Suchet at the beginning, because he's taken the female lead in it. And yes, he's taken the female lead. And he said, he commented and said about, it's interesting that that they didn't ask an actress, and he said, and you could see him stumbling over his words when he said the word actress. Am I supposed to say actress? And he said, actress, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. And he kind of lost his train of thought and then carried on. But yeah, there's a reason for that change, I guess, which is that it's a non-gender specific.
Non-gender specific, exactly.
But it's okay, because
maybe,
Rachel still likes
with
being called an
all-
actress.
I like the word actress.
I think it's
got a
nice.
feminine, pretty touch.
I've completely and utterly lost my train of thought of where the question was. But anyway, going back to you being an actress, when we talk about actresses and actors, maybe when you think about it, you think about struggling actresses and actors in LA and London and so on and so forth, and they're really having to work for their art, and they may or may not make it. You talked about a level of comfort. Does that have any, it's a kind of an impertinent question, but does that have any influence on your drive and your performance? Do you ever get to the point where you think, well, you know, well, if I do a great job tonight, that would be great, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to teach tomorrow. And then vice versa, knowing that you have to go and teach tomorrow. Does that then mean that you're more tired?
For me, it would be the latter. Like, I'd be like, I have to teach tomorrow. I can't get tired. You have to remain, like, energized, you know?
Yes.
But then again, because I've been there with the struggling thing, you know, when I was in England, it wasn't always, you know, amazing, great times. There was, you know, the struggling time as well.
And this was part of when you were in the band as well?
Yes, yeah, just a bit before that, especially.
Okay.
It was once I graduated, you know, and you're trying to find the agent, and you're trying to find your next job, and you have to pay rent, and I was like, working in shoe shops, working in soap shops, and this is not what I wanted to do with my life, and I have loans to pay.
That's how I think of it. That's how I think of stage actresses,
Yes.
particularly stage performers, particularly, you know, struggling for their art and looking for the roles and them not being available. And when you were overseas, was that harder? Was there more? I mean, when maybe it's on balance, there's as many roles, but just as many people chasing them.
I felt it was harder when I was there,
Yes.
I'll be honest. The rent was, for me, because obviously as well I was by myself now. I've luckily got a man by my side to help me out there a bit. But tons of...
You see what happens? I have two actresses on and I'm like this, all of a sudden handing it up. Oh, dear.
But yeah, I used to worry because at the same time, you know, again, we were saying about short contracts in Malta, but you also get the short contract shows in the UK, and I was getting a lot of short contract stuff. So,
which means you have to work constantly.
I was constantly working, and I wasn't just I was teaching as well over there, but I was doing a lot of jobs that were just, you know, a bit mundane and like, so there was always that sense of insecurity, and I don't know where the next, you know, paycheck is coming from, basically. So.
Listen,
How do
we're
you
going.
manage that? Sorry, yes.
Listen,
more
Jane.
questions.
No, Jane, it's break time. So you can get hold of the wine. Don't go anywhere because we are going to carry on. Ladies, don't go anywhere. We're going to carry on in just a second. Go make yourself another cup of tea, another cup of coffee, or get yourself another glass of wine. See you in just a moment.
Welcome back to In Demand, where we are talking to women on stage. We've got the lovely Rachel Fabry and also Isabel Warrington, two accomplished stage actresses. Ladies, thank you.
We've also got wine, so I'm going to chin to you.
Cheers.
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 We do make it a practice of doing so.
Cheers.
You have to look into the eyes, look into the eyes.
Yes,
No,
look
where
into
does
the
that
eyes.
come from? Because someone said that to me ages ago. Look into the eyes, and they always look at me like this, and I always think they're on some
I
strange
like to
planet.
look into the wine glass. That's what I like to do. I'm very good at that. Staring at the bottom of a wine glass.
Ladies, we're talking to you about women on stage. And now, Rachel, you also are a singer, and Isabel, you also have done television or do television as well.
No, I don't really
don't?
do television.
You
No,
have
I
done.
don't.
Okay. Have you ever explored television?
No.
The reason I'm coming to the point of my question
Right.
is that
Not television.
is that why choose stage? Because there are other, and you've just highlighted, there are other avenues such as television that are options. Why choose stage? What has stage got for you that any other platform doesn't have?
I started off on stage, right? So you could say it was my first love. What I really love about acting on a stage is the fact that it's live. The fact that you are getting a feeling from the audience, you're getting a reaction. There's so much adrenaline, you have to give it so much energy. It's so exciting, it's terrifying, but it's so exciting. That's what makes it exciting. I've acted in 2 foreign films. I had a very minor role. And partly because I'm not experienced in that genre. So I was so nervous because I wasn't quite sure how the whole process works. With stage, I'm used to the process.
I've
you know?
had a similar experience,
And
in fact.
I really
so
didn't enjoy it
I can
because
understand.
you do one take and then okay,
Yes.
let's just switch these things around. Then you do another
The
take.
energy
and-
drops.
The energy, and it must. And I remember
Wow.
speaking to the actress, to the leading actress, and she said, I really admire you because you are a stage actress. I said, no, I really admire you because you have to keep that energy going. One take after another, after another. I said, it must be exhausting.
Which isn't
She said, but you get
necessarily-
used to it.
And it's not necessarily in a chronological order.
No,
I mean, on a teeny,
no,
teeny,
there isn't continuity.
Minute scale. Over the summer, we've been filming a TV show, and we would have to film maybe the closing segment of the TV show before we've even started. And to sort of get your head around that, even when there's a running order and a script, you have to kind of, okay, so now I have to drop my energy a little bit just to be able to go, well, that was lovely, wasn't it? But you're saying, I mean, I don't know about you, but my admiration is with you guys being on stage.
I know that is when you said about terror. I think it's that terror of coming on stage. I get the whole adrenaline rush. I mean, I came from a public speaking background, so I understand that adrenaline that comes with it, but also that fear of, I mean, mine is shorter than yours, to be on
I
stage
think
for 2 or 3 hours.
Isabel said though as well, that we started at a bit of a younger age and it was like our first love. It kept us there, you know?
Yes.
Like, so for me, like one of the first stage experiences I had, I was 8 years old. I didn't realize how terrifying it could actually be. Yet if I think I had to start now at my age, I would probably be much, you know, more fearful of it all.
Probably,
to be honest.
I
don't know if
because you become that way, I think.
from the
as you grow
experience of
older.
it. Yes.
Oh yes, of course it does.
So what does going wrong look like?
I mean, my worst ever going wrong was in 2002, I believe. It was the second panto I was doing. And I didn't know that there were matinees on a Saturday. And nobody bothered to inform me because they just took it for granted that I know, you know.
Oh, no.
I don't know where it's written, in what Bible, or it's written.
The Panto Bible, yes.
Oh, no.
Always
So I had no idea. And for some reason, the panto I did 2 years ago, I either forgot that there were matinees on a Saturday, but whatever. It just stuck in my head that there were no matinees on a Saturday. So Saturday, I was doing some work. You know, I thought I was employed at the time in an office, and I said, let me go in and just, you know, sort out the office a bit. So I'll be prepared, you know, and I won't have any rush. And it's quiet, and I'm there. And the performance starts at 3 o'clock for a matinee, and at 3 o'clock, I got a phone call, and. It was a fellow actor who, you know, we have a very good rapport and we're always joking and laughing. And I saw it was from his phone. I said, hi, how are you? And I thought it was going to be the usual rubbish, you know, usual banter.
Where are you?
And I get, you know, this deadpan voice. Somebody else, it wasn't him, because he was getting his makeup done. He was the dame at the time. And he told me, and this woman who was the makeup artist, she told me, where are you? I said, at work, why? She said, do you know we have a performance? I said, yes. She said, then why aren't you here? I said, because it starts at 8 o'clock. She said, no. She said, it's starting now. She said, there's a matinee. And it's like all the blood drained from my body. And
Did you get there on time?
What did you do? What did you do?
And I was in the opening scene. Luckily, I didn't have any dialogue in the opening scene. I just sort of had to establish the character. So in the meantime, unbeknownst to me, the director was rewriting the script just in case I didn't turn up, at all. And so I just flew there. I flew there like a headless chicken. You know, it just flew through. It was really naughty. You know, I went through all the red lights and I just flew. I left my car still running in the middle of the street. So I don't know who parked it. And I was just,
Oh my
you know,
God.
pulled in to the changing room, and I was just fitted, you know, and the costume is complicated because you've got, you know, your false boobs, your false bum, you've got tights that go on and tight, you know, big boots and everything, a tight fitting thing, makeup, hair, wigs. And I don't ask me how, but I managed to get there on the second scene because that's where I had the dialogue.
So you needed to be there.
And how did
My
it go? Did you not?
goodness.
Were you not sort of walking onto stage going?
No, and then I just went, I mean, my makeup was a mess, obviously, you know, but I just flew in. I invented a couple of lines about my makeup. And, you know, and I just kind of carried on. Thank God it wasn't the opening show because that I would have
My
been
goodness, of course.
So
My
because
goodness.
you were saying as well, and we were both talking about earlier about what's a long run and what's a short run. So the panto is the longest run that you
Yes,
have an
in
opportunity
Malta,
to
yes.
do in Malta. How do you keep up? You were saying there that if it was the first time, you'd have been quite energetic and anxious about doing it. So the first couple of performances are a little bit like that, are they?
Yes, that's
So
it.
then you get into your rhythm. So in a short run, do you just get into your rhythm and then it stops?
You have to adjust really quickly.
Yes,
You just
and you have to be very careful
Yeah.
as well. That it normally happens. Let's say when we do, most of the shows are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you have a break during the week, and then you have the following
Right.
weekend. So what happens is, you know, opening night, adrenaline is running high. You know, your senses are all really
Yes.
sharp, and then what happens is on the second night. You think, okay, I did this, I can do this. So you
Exactly.
become a little bit, you know, cocky. You have to be
Yes.
careful not to become
Yes.
a bit too clever, you know, and relax too much. Because
I feel
that's
you
when
can
you
never
start
relax,
to
though.
you can never relax.
just relax.
But you have to be
on it. You have to be focused.
Yes,
You have
and
to
you
be
have
focused.
to, and if you are feeling a little bit tired or whatever, you need to really give
Do
yourself a
something
bit
to-
kicking and get out there and keep the level.
Exactly. You
And
need
I
to
guess
up the game.
that's what I was going to come to. I mean, you've got to learn the lines. And you had mentioned, Rachel, about learning lines takes a long time. If you're doing one of these short runs, or even if you're doing a panto, which is 2.5 weeks, how long does it take to rehearse, and how long does it take to learn your lines? Because surely that
depends.
is longer than the
And
2.5
do you get paid
weeks.
for all of it?
It depends, I'd say. I mean, it depends on the role.
Brutal.
Like, for example, now the show I'm working on last 5 years, it's a very acty musical, a very genuine type of musical. You know, it's not Oklahoma, which is all like, It's, you know, it's quite a deep, you know, it's quite a deep musical. But, for example, I had to learn it as though I'm learning monologues. And then you have to do, like, singing rehearsals, which are separate and stuff like that. So it's a very different learning
That's an interesting process,
to
yes.
other things I've done before. So I
Yes.
think it just depends on what you're
I
really
think,
working
yes,
on, you
it
know.
depends
like-
on the production, I would say.
But how do you learn lines? I mean, I'm asking a personal question right off, not anyone that we've come up with. But how do you go through that process of learning
how
lines?
do you
What
remember
is the
all of that?
process?
Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to tie this into a sort of more sensible question, just so it doesn't look like I'm asking a personal question. But obviously, it also intrudes an awful lot. It must do into your home life as well,
Yes,
because you
yes.
must be standing there making the pasta saying,
Yes,
third line
Yes,
is, oh,
yes.
for the love of God, I
Read
do
that.
hope this.
Yes, very much.
You're Bob, okay,
Yes,
and I'm
exactly.
Fran.
Mavis.
Yes.
My cat, my poor Cookie, she's like, has to play all the minor roles, or, you know. But when Andrew comes home, when my husband comes home, I'm just like, okay, do you have an hour to spare? Can you
And he knows
be
what's
the main
coming,
role,
doesn't he?
please? Because he loves it. He just sits down, starts singing. You know, he thinks he's singing well.
Lovely.
I just start singing. He's amazing though with these things. He really helps me out. But then sometimes he just starts going, you know, he throws me, you know, because he's not doing it like the actual actor would do it. I'm like, no, you can't do it like that. So I start directing him. Yeah, I start directing him. He's like, you know, I'm not actually playing this role, right? But anyway.
And what about for you?
Again, it depends on the production that you're doing, on what the role entails, and it also depends on the director. I think the best way that I like to work is first to have a read-through with all the actors and to familiarise
Yes.
myself with the rest of the cast, with the characters, and maybe even discuss what the director would like to see emerging from this character, how they'd like to see it develop. And then with that in mind, I can go away and start, you know, the rather laborious and boring task of learning the lines.
Lots of repetition.
Yes,
Lots
you know,
of
it's a lot of mental repetition.
Are there any games that you
Yes.
play? Because and again, on a teeny weeny scale, when I've done TV shows over the summer, we have a script. I write the script, and then before we come on the day that we go, because they're very short scripts, I have to visualise what I'm saying. I have to see keywords, and they pull the... No one's ever told me how to do that. It's just that my memory's not the best in the world. But what is your method of doing that, Isabel?
My method of doing it is reading it over and over and over and over again. I read it, and then it starts to sink in, and then I start to forget that it's part of the script, so to speak. I try and turn it into a story and break it down in that way. That helps me a lot. And then, funnily enough, because I would have read it very, very often, I'll know where certain paragraphs are in the script, and if I'm on stage and I start to feel like I'm going to dry, you know, I'm going to forget a line, it's like my memory goes,
Photographic memory,
okay, it's on that part, you're there, you know, and it's kind of an anchor.
I do that.
I tend to work a bit like that.
Here's a question, going away from learning lines. Have you ever had to be intimate with somebody on stage?
Yes, at the moment I'm rehearsing a little bit of that. We haven't really started those scenes yet. I mean, intimate, it's not that, I mean, like a huge love scene or anything like that, but it's a very personal, quite
and I use intimate in a very broad sense, because when you're with someone and you're trying to portray intimacy, any kind of love, or whether that's physical or emotional, and how is that?
Well, the first time I ever had to be quite intimate with someone on stage was when I was in college. We were doing a musical called When Midnight Strikes, and it was actually quite a terrifying experience for me, because this guy that I had to kiss and make out with quite a lot had a striking resemblance to my younger brother. So it was really horrible. It was really horrible. And my parents were also in the audience, so I was like, yes, this is what your daughter's been up to. And there was his girlfriend in the audience as well, you know, the guys, it was just, I was so uncomfortable, but you have to do it. And in a way, I'm glad I did it, because then I said, if I can do that, I can do this, you know. Like, so, yeah.
Because I always think that when I see people, I think, you know, how can you act that? You can see how perhaps you might act angry, or you might act, you know, in a funny way, but to act and be intimate.
I think it's it's not so awful, in the sense that it helps a lot if you have good chemistry with the other actor, because this is with anything. It's not just intimate scenes, but with any production. If there is you know, not a good rapport. If there's some kind of friction with an actor, it can really affect your performance.
You have to feed off the energy.
It is, yes, it is terrible. It's happened to me, and it is terrible. It's awful, because then you don't enjoy the performance if you're not, you know, gelling between you. So there is you're working as a team.
You sure as heck don't want to kiss them if you don't get on with them, right?
No, it's just terrible, you know, or if they have bad breath.
Yes.
You know, I mean, these things are important.
Of course they are.
I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night tonight. I know I'm going to wake up going, oh, I'm kissing someone bad breath. Oh, good. Because that for me is like worst nightmare.
Worst nightmare. It has happened to me, you know, and it's really, it's not. It's do you not
take Smints with you and just can them out?
Well, I have done that, yes, because you know, it's just you know, a fundamental thing that you do. You just want to make sure that the other person is comfortable, you know, because it is awkward. Especially sometimes it's even if it's somebody who's a friend, you know, you don't want to kiss your friend.
No,
ladies, we've come to the end of the show on such a high note.
Kissing friends.
How fantastic. Listen, if someone does want to see you on the stage, or have you got anything coming up or anything that you've been in recently we can just mention?
Why don't you stop?
Okay. So I'm going to be doing 4Play 4, which is a series of comedy sketches, comedy and satirical sketches. We poke fun at Maltese culture mainly.
Best of luck with that.
Yes. So it's 4 actors, 4 writers and 4 directors. And that will be at the Manuel Theatre on the 6th, 7th and 8th and the following weekend in November.
And
Great.
Rachel?
I'm in the anime gospel choir concerts as well at the Mediterranean Conference Centre.
How wonderful.
And that's end of October, which is now. And I'm also in the Last 5 Years musical that I mentioned earlier by Jason Robert Brown, which is taking place on the 20th to the 22nd and 27th to the 29th November at the Blue Box in Msida.
It has been so lovely talking to you. Don't
Very
go
much.
anywhere, because actually we're just going to carry on and have that part of the show on Sunday night. But for now, congratulations. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we both wish you the very, very best of luck.
Thank you very
no
much.
slip
Absolutely.
lines. No slip
Absolutely.
lines.
Thank
No kissing men with bad breath. There you
And
go.
don't forget to join us next week. We'll be talking to some more fantastic Maltese women about something else. And Sunday night, we'll be speaking to these lovely ladies on In Demand After Hours.
Absolutely, and if you want to catch up with any of this or anything that we do, catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/InDemand TV Malta.
This has been In Demand. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you Sunday and next Friday.
Good night.